I think we're really excited to play. I don't have any doubt about that. I think our fans are. I think we already have people outside, right?
Yes.
That's what I heard. So I think that's fantastic. That's great for Indiana because we want to get that to be where it's like that a lot as time goes. But I think everybody understands that we're not only playing an in-state school, we're not only playing a program that has got a great rivalry with Indiana, but we're also playing one of the best teams in the country. I don't think there's any doubt. There's probably not a hotter team based on last week, but at the same time, it's that way for a reason. Because they are outstanding on the defensive end. They make everything very hard to come by. They play great pressure defense. They can clean up things in the middle, certainly if anybody gets beat because of the shot blocking ability of Juwan Johnson. On the offensive end, they know who's supposed to shoot when, and they do an excellent job of utilizing their strengths. And they put their guys in position to succeed. They play a great inside-out game. And everybody that outside of Juwan Johnson and Etwan Moore, and even Lewis Jackson, because he's certainly emerged as that mainstay. He's playing the pick and roll very, very well. They complement each other very well. So there's no question they have an outstanding team and one that's one of the best in the country. And we know we're going to have to play at a very high level on both ends of the court. And I think our guys are excited to do that.
How have the guys responded in practice to the message you sent by bringing them back in early?
I think I think that it's how you utilize it, and it was a matter of just coming in here and really making sure that we understand what we've got to get better at and how it's measured daily, in the sense of that you have to practice at a high level, you have to carry it over, but the intangibles are the hugest difference. It's the emotion you play with. It's the ability to play through mistakes. It's the ability to help each other through a mistake. It's the ability to understand time and score and possession by possession. And we just needed to get that. It could happen again tomorrow. You never know. You just got to get it reconfigured once in a while. But I think they've responded very well. And I think they're prepared. I think they're working on that preparation. They're continuing to work on it. And I hope that they all understand that this is a tremendous opportunity for them. And the challenge speaks for itself, but the opportunity is what they're going to create or not create. And that's what I'm looking forward to seeing.
The flaws with this team, the issues that you're working on, is that more a matter of mental awareness and things like that, or is it a physical problem?
Well, I think it's everything. We have not. I mean, you even go back to the game the other day. We were our own worst enemy a couple times. We missed some shots. We missed some foul shots. When we were getting momentum, a mistake is made defensively. They make a big shot, and I mean, they got good players. I mean, they don't put a player on the court that can't make a shot, but that makes it that much harder. I mean, you can't have slippage when you're playing against guys that can make a play at any given point in time. So we never did a good enough job the other day of keeping momentum, we still had a time in the game, or during the game, we had 3 stops in a row, 6 different times. Usually don't lose a game when you have that. We haven't lost a lot of games when we have that. It's a pretty good measuring stick for us, that and the deflections. But there's a lot of things to correct. But when you have a lot of emotion, and I don't mean emotional, but when you have a lot of emotion, when you have just that spirit of toughness and grinding things out, that can make up for a lot of things. But let's face it, and we've got to make shots too. I mean, we're going against one of the best defensive teams in the country, and we have to make shots, and they don't make it easy to get those. And the other day we missed some open shots.
You guys didn't have Christian the first time around. How does that having him back just change the dynamic of the matchup?
Oh, I think it could change it in a big way because it's another guy that they have to put some attention on. They have to put the attention on him in the perimeter and in the post, and I think it helps with our athleticism, helps us around the bucket. He's got to rebound it, and certainly that has not been anything that he has done yet coming back from that injury. But it's time tomorrow night to really establish that and get rebounds, and he needs to guard better. But I have confidence in his defense. He'll have some tough matchups tomorrow night, but we've definitely got to be in a situation where we utilize him, and I think he's ready for that.
I don't know if you would want to reveal this or not, but would you want to put him on Juwan, or is that something?
Well, I think anytime. I mean, going to our first game, I think you're constantly going to have different people guarding their best players because you can't ever just guard them one-on-one, especially in the post. So you're going to have different rotations, and inside of that, people are going to get matched up with different people. But this is not a team that you can just, nor is really anybody for us, where we can just think we're just going to come down and play one way. And so we've got to be able to mix it, and our guys have got to be learned enough to do that. And I'm sure at some point in time he will be matched up with them.
Having a pumped up crowd, is this team more reliant on that than maybe some teams?
Oh, I don't know. That's a hard. I don't know. We didn't allow them to be as vocal as they needed to be the other day. So I think it's a big deal. But it's always been a big deal at Indiana. Even from me looking at it from a distance, the home crowd at Indiana is fantastic. I think they bring a lot of comfort to these guys. I think they bring some extra energy to these guys. These guys are well aware of what that crowd looks like, and I think they appreciate that. I think when they lose a game at home like we have with those two games, I think they feel like they've let people down too. The kids aren't always going to say that, but I get that feeling. I know I have it, but I don't think it's just wishful thinking. I think they have that. I think they realize this is a pretty special deal, at Indiana. So. But again, tomorrow night, this team has gone on the road and won a lot of games. I mean, we've got to play really well. We've got to play really well.
You have a couple of these IU-Purdue rivalry games under your belt. Looking at it back from when you were at Marquette, did you understand how big this was to IU-Purdue people? Or do you have to?
No, you have to go through it. You have to go through it, and I think I'll understand it a lot better when we're back and forth a little bit more. And that day's coming. Hopefully, it'll come tomorrow night. But we haven't had that yet. We've had some good games. I mean, we were right there last year. A couple defensive mistakes hurt us late in that game. They made a couple of they made us pay for our mistakes. That's what good teams do. And but I know it's a huge game rivalry-wise. I think I'm so locked into what they do and how they play, and what we have to do to try to take some of that away and negate some of that more than anything else.
Getting Jackson to be a third guy, how huge is that?
Well, he's outstanding in the pick and roll. It helps when a guy like Juwan Johnson is setting a screen for you, and Etwan Moore and Ryan Smith are spotted up. So I think there's really not many guys you can play off of there. I think he's a beneficiary of his teammates being really good. But I also think they're a beneficiary of how good he is with the ball. And he's really done an excellent job of getting to the rim. And they like to isolate him, especially against us a little bit, and he uses the pick and roll very well. And we're going to have to be very well schooled as to what we want to do there.
Moore's obviously been good for a long time, but is there anything you've seen lately that kind of explains how he's kind of getting?
Tremendous confidence. I mean, I think he felt like he could have. I mean, I don't know him. I don't know the young man, but the zone he was in the other day, he could have easily been in the West Coast in that NBA All-Star game. The way he was shooting the ball. I mean, he was high level, and they kept putting different people on him, and it just didn't matter. I don't know if it would have mattered with anybody that day, but the scores he made, there wasn't a lot of resistance, in that sense. He got hot, and he just rose up and made plays. I mean, the one play, the layup, was out of this world. I mean, but it's the other things that he did that were really good. He got them all in the context of the game, whether it's the break, the shot clock, or the middle of the clock. So he was as good a guard as there was in the country that day. It's one of the great things about this league. I mean, there's really good teams in this league, and at the same time, I don't know if all the great players are getting the attention that they deserve because the teams are so good. And sometimes in different venues, the players get a lot of attention, the teams get a lot of attention. Here, the teams get the attention, the players aren't always getting it. I mean, Jordan Taylor's still not getting the attention that I would think that he deserves on the national level. I'm not sure William Buford and John Diebler are getting that. I'm not sure Aaron Kraft is mentioned in the conversations of being one of the best freshmen in the country. And that says a lot about team basketball. But at the same time, there's some really good players here, and Etwan Moore is as good as any of them.
The competitiveness of the league, these teams eating each other essentially as it goes, it may be from the outside. Do you think that changes kind of the perception of the strength of the league? Well,
probably, but I think everybody else is doing that. I mean, it just kind of comes in what the perception is. I mean, the Big East is doing the same thing. The Big 12 is doing it just a little bit. I mean, not as much as others. The SEC is doing it. And I'm not sure if the Pac-10 is really, that's Arizona, right?
Arizona.
Yeah, I mean, but when you get in the power conferences like this and you've got really good parity, I mean, think about it. Everybody in this league, us included, can win on any given night. And it's the consistency that separates. I mean, certainly talent, experience, being really good defensively, those are the things that really make a difference. But consistency is what it's all about. And when you've got veterans like Purdue's got that have been through it, and you've got, what Purdue's got is very rare. When you've got two guys that good that are there for their fourth year, I mean, that's rare and in this day and age. And it says a lot about how well they play as teammates and with everybody else, because they're great players in their own right, and they make everybody else better.
Have you seen the on-court dynamic between Jordan and Riddell kind of evolve this year? And as you've kind of seen the different roles each of them has had to play, what do you think is optimal for them?
That's a good point, because I think that's really important, that their synergy is really good. Because what happened when Riddell went out is Jordan had to handle the ball that much more, and Jeremiah had to handle the ball that much more. And now as Riddell has come back, we want Riddell to handle it, but the more guard play you have, the better it is. And those two have really got to be joined at the hip, so to speak. But that's a great point. That's something that it was really, if you remember back to the Wisconsin game and even the Michigan game, I mean, it was really good. And then we lost some of that for a little bit. And so we're trying to get that back. And then Christian went down and all that. So we've lost some of that rhythm. But those two, because the ball is in their hands more than anybody else, have really got to be connected offensively, and they've got to be even more connected defensively, because they're rarely in the same situation. I mean, there's not a lot of pick and rolls they're involved in together, but they're both going to be on the ball. They're both going to be off the ball. They both have to have a commanding presence. And that's what Jeremiah's got to really, really bring to us right now, is get back to being that defensive captain, that guy that he's holding his teammates accountable on the court. I mean, accountability is a big part of it, and you guys know it, and I use it. A lot of other people use that term. It always means something different to other people. To me, it means that you're not afraid to say what needs to be said on that court, and it's got to be in real time. It's got to be quick. It's when it's flying around, and the huddles have got to be a little sharper. They've got to be a little quicker. They've got to be a little more assertive. Just little things like that are a huge part of accountability on the court, because you only get so many timeouts. And like I said the other day, I mean, I've sometimes been subbing too much, because that can hurt your rhythm too. But I'm subbing for a reason, and it's not always fatigue. You like to sub for fatigue, but we're subbing for mistakes, and then we're not as locked into what has to happen when they get in. That's accountability too, especially when you're playing guys like Victor and Will in crucial spots like we are. But with that being said, those two have got to really be good at keeping this team on an even keel in the game, and not be afraid to say what needs to be said.
What do you see on the court when they are clicking as opposed to when they're not?
Ball moves really well. Ball moves really, really well. I mean, you guys know with us, and we've got to create different things, because we're not always, especially when Christian was out, and again, as he tries to come back and get his bearings, with 1.5 hands, basically, is we're not always going to get a lot done in a true post-up. So we've got to get it off cutting. We've got to get it off movement. That there were questions about our cutting and movement in the Michigan game. That was like a badge of honor for us. That's what we got to have. I mean, we've got to be able to get to the foul line. And if it's a foul, it's got to be called. And there's been too many games this year where, because we're cutting and moving, we're not getting what the rule says. Hey, that's a foul. And when an announcer can make a comment, hey, you could call that foul on every play. Well, you know what? The way John Adams has got it set up right now, call it. And that's what we have to do. So going back to your question, that's what those two can do a really good job of, because they've got to get to the foul line for us. Look at Jordan's numbers. And Riddell is outstanding, with the exception of a couple games, and has really made improvements in his foul shooting over the years. So when the ball is moving, when it's side to side, when we're getting up on the break, when one of those two is creating something off a pick and roll or off the fast break, and it's not just about passing to one another, it's about just really making sure that the game is flowing. And then they're the leaders in the transition defense, and making sure that guys are getting back. And I think they can really, and along with Jeremiah, really do a better job of holding the guys accountable on the court, and like I said, in real time, you know, because it's not football where it stops every play. You know, I mean, it just keeps moving, and you got to have guys that it's not just about communication. It's about making sure that everybody understands what they're doing in the flow of the game.
How much of a challenge do you think it's been for these guys to change roles so dramatically from game to game with the injuries that you've had, you know, Jordan?
Just part of it. I mean, it'll make them better down the road. There's no doubt about that. But we're not we've always been a team this year where the whole is greater than the sum of its parts, and that's what we need to understand. But we went to a Final Four with that. I mean, Dwayne Wade wasn't always Dwayne Wade. I mean, he had to get better, and then his role kept emerging, and Travis Diener's role emerged. So I've been down that road where you've got to play different roles. But to the extent of this, you know, probably not. I mean, when you lose your best players like this at crucial times in the season, it asks people to do stuff that they may not be ready for, may not have the skills yet to do. But you just do it, and then they get better inside of it. But again, with all that being said, there's team defense, and that's what the other day, when it all comes down to it, our individual defensive play was not as good, but our team defense wasn't as good because of the accountability factor. And it doesn't matter who's out there, everybody can guard and follow a game plan, and that's what has to happen. Now, not everybody can make shots, and not everybody can get to the rim, and not everybody's going to get a big rebound. But team defense, that can happen.
Have these guys maybe dealt with the challenges a little bit differently because they've been thrown into the fire right from the start? They've been asked to take...
Maybe, yeah, you'd have to ask them. I don't know. I don't think about that a lot. I mean, I think if we spend, when we had the injuries, if we spend too much time, you know, woe is me, and okay, how are we going to do this and how are we going to do that? That doesn't serve any purpose. I mean, it's all about getting ready for that game and getting guys ready to play that way.
Is there a specific area that maybe you guys didn't do as well as you wanted to when you played up there that you need to do better tomorrow night?
We need to get to the foul line. We really do.
You got to the foul line 7 times in that game.
Yeah, don't remind me. You know, yeah, I'm well aware of that. And second half, we need to be able to get to the foul line. There's been too many games this year where the free throw discrepancy in the second half has not served us very well. And it's not like we're doing a lot of different things in the second half. We're doing much the same. We've got to get to the foul line. We've got to shoot the ball better. And I think our screening has got to be better, without a doubt. And then just better decision making. I mean, we really do. We made some, and we held in there because our defense at times was very solid in that game. We made some really, really big mistakes defensively, you know, with passes in the cross court and not being strong with the ball. I mean, you've definitely got to have whatever cliches you want to use, the lunch bucket, the hard hat, you know, whatever it is when you're playing against Purdue, because they're going to be physical. I have no problem with that. You know, we need to be able to play it the same way. And so, but we do need to be able to get to the foul line in this game.
Is that Christian needing to take the ball to the basket more too?
Well, Christian the other day, he stopped. There was some technique to that when we watch it on the film and even during the game. He didn't do a great job of finishing the play, you know, with one extra dribble or one big step at the end and stepping through the contact and almost short-arming it a little bit or trying to finesse a shot rather than get all the way there. Now, with that being said, we're going against one of the best shot blockers in the country, so you've got to be smart there. But no, it's a team. I mean, certainly he leads the way, but Victor needs to get to the line. Our guards need to get to the line. You know, when we're cutting and driving, we need to be rewarded for that. And if we're making soft cuts and we're not setting screens, then we don't need to be rewarded for it. But that wasn't our problem up at Purdue. And there were too many times in that game where we just didn't get over the hump. And with that, we've got to have better execution. You know, when we do have an open shot, knock it down, string some offensive successes together along with the defensive stops.
Anything else for Coach?
Terry, anything else?
No.
All right, they'll be in here in a minute. All right.